Hello everyone, SirMonkeySuit Azabi here, back again with Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. We are on episode 5, and the last episode was a bit of a downer. I've said before that this show very rapidly changes from lightheartedness to darkness. really quickly. And last episode was definitely like the top of what we've seen so far. And we're only fucking 4 episodes in, for Christ's sake. But yeah, it was essentially taking place with a family, a father and a daughter. The father being a state alchemist with an assessment day coming round. He didn't have a good one the previous year, and so to keep his sort of certifications, I guess he just spiraled out of control. Well, he didn't. I'm not even going to say that he spiraled out of control, because he turned his wife into a chimera 2 years before that. So it's like one of those things where it's like this guy's just a fucking parasite. Like he's a absolute dickhead, and I'm happy that he got his just desserts, but in the end it all amounted to nothing anyway. Like everything for him to, to keep his certifications as a state alchemist, you know what I mean, by essentially ruining his daughter's life, you know what I mean? Like it was the case of like turning her into a chimera, but the one murderer dude who's going around and killing all of the guys who are sort of blasphemous to God, and everything like that, basically put her out of her misery. So it basically was all for nothing, which is why I was so pissed off and angry. You know what I mean? I've said previously before that, yeah, like in shows I hate it when it has to deal with children or women, and shit like that. So it's, yeah, it just got under my skin, that one. So yeah, I mean, I think we'll just continue on and try to forget about what the fuck happened there. So yeah, I mean, other than that, I guess the only thing we could really take from that episode is the mass murderer guy who's still out there and on the loose. But I'm intrigued to see what actually where he gets this sort of idealistic approach from. Like, this idea that because we've already been talking about since the first episode, really, even before I started watching the show, I was talking about the science and the sort of magic, and if you want to associate the magic is more religious, like, and religion based around a god or anything like that, that this guy seems to sort of walk that line in between, where he's like an alchemist and everything like that, but he does it in the name of God and everything like that. So he's sort of like maybe a middle ground, maybe not someone that is actually associated with the terrorist group or whatever the hell it is, with gluttony and whatnot. Somebody did actually say in the comments that her name has already been said. So yeah, I mean, I apologize for that. I clearly didn't pick it up. I mean, that's the one of the issues, I suppose, with not having subtitles and just having to hear things, is that things can just get like, they can just like kind of fade into a sentence, and I don't pick up on it, But yeah, I mean, maybe in the opening I'll look it up if I can. But then again, I don't want spoilers, so I guess I'll not do it. I'll just wait until her name crops up again. But yes, I don't think we need to talk about anything else. So as per usual, this show, the reaction will be here on YouTube. If for whatever reason it gets taken down for copyright in the future, I will re-upload this video as just a discussion only, and the reaction will be in the link in the description down below. There will also be a link to the full length as well all the time. So, if you want to watch my reactions to this show in full and not just the 10-minute cut version, then the offer is there for you. But yes, nothing else to talk about. So we're going to get in episode 5, see what we get. So without further ado, let's go. Reign of Sorrows.
Hey, Mom! Mom!
Back in time.
What do you have there, Ed?
It's a present. I transmuted it.
Creating something as neat as this takes talent. But
If you can do that.
Oh shit.
Why couldn't you make Mommy better, Ed?
Fuck, it's a bloody nightmare, man.
Let's play!
God, man. Yeah, it's gonna be him, like, accepting what just happened this episode, I think.
Mr. Tucker was scheduled to be stripped of his certification and stand trial for what he did to Nina.
No, I'm not aware yet.
But
They're both dead.
Dead?
You'll find out anyway, so I might as well tell you. They've been murdered. I was just heading over to the scene now.
We're coming with you.
No, you don't need to see this.
Too personally involved.
But we must hold tight to our faith. The time has come to rise up, weapon in hand, and fight in the name of the great god Leto!
Yeah! We fight under the
When's
protection
this?
of Leto! Don't be fooled!
That man speaks nothing but lies! Can't you see that?
Hold your tongue!
Oh god. Fuck hell. Just cause chaos, man.
Well, if it isn't the father.
Yeah, Father!
Sorry to have to put you to all of this trouble. Looks like we'll finish up ahead of schedule.
Did they just create a new...
little information, spout some empty rhetoric to the believers, and you have a fine recipe for instant violence.
Bloodshed gives way to more bloodshed. Hatred breeds more hatred.
Hold up.
And no matter how many times it happens, they never learn. The human race is made up of violent, miserable fools. By the way, Envy, could you lose the old man costume?
Envy?
I was just staying in character. But
They're all
if
7
you
deadly
insist,
sins.
this time around I'll go with
The
the younger,
cuter model. What do you say?
Bloody
Oh,
hell,
hey, did you
man.
hear the news? Shao Tucker, that alchemist in East City, he's dead.
Tucker. Why should we care about a little nothing like him?
Because it was him who was responsible for the murder. And apparently the Fullmetal Brat's there, too.
Oh, is he? We can't very well let him die. He's an important sacrifice.
That was so yummy!
The other one we were speaking of. What was his name?
Scar. We don't really know anything else about him, so that's what we're calling him. 5 days ago, he took down Old Man Gron.
The Brigadier General? But he's an expert in weapons transmutation.
That shows you how dangerous this guy is. You and Tucker are the only state alchemist of note in this area, right?
Oh no.
We put all our trust in alchemy, but in the end, what is it? The world flows too. It must also follow laws. Everything circulates. Even death is a part of that circulation. I thought I understood it, but I didn't understand anything. Mom proves that. Now here I am again, trying desperately to figure out a way to do the impossible.
Yeah, and bring him back again. Yes.
I'm such a hopeless idiot.
I just want to be human again. Even if it means going against the flow of the world and trying to do the impossible.
And he's there.
You, boy, you were the Fullmetal Alchemist Edward Elric, correct?
What the hell is going on here?
Feel.
This is bad.
Let's go out! Run for it!
Recognizes that he's a problem. He's never run away from a fight before.
No, you don't.
Got you!
Possible as well, he might just...
Grab on!
He might not be in a great mental state right now to fight either, you know?
Who are you anyway? Why are you after us?
As long as there are creators like you in the world, there must also be destroyers.
Too slow.
Oh, fucking hell!
Ow!
There's nothing inside.
You bastard!
You're too slow.
Oh, that, yeah, thank God it was his metal arm. Jesus Christ.
Most unusual.
I know who that is.
Don't! Just run away!
Then I will have to start by destroying this abhorrent right arm of yours.
What the fuck?
Now you will not be able to use your heretic's alchemy.
How the fuck did he just destroy it like it was nothing?
Are you going after my brother Al, too?
If he interferes, I will eliminate him.
In that case, I want your word. Promise me you won't hurt my brother.
Brother, what are you trying to do? What are you thinking? Run! Don't touch him! No! No, you can't! Stop it!
That's enough!
Colonel.
You won't be killing anybody else today, Scar. As an agent of God, I am here to hand down his judgment.
If you interfere, I will eliminate you as well.
Oh, is that right?
You guys stay out of it. Volunteering yourself to receive judgment. This is truly an auspicious day.
So you know who I am, and you still want to challenge me. Bad decision.
Jesus Christ, man. Why is it every time I get the feel that Mustang goes to
You know
fight?
as well as I do, you're useless on rainy days. Please stay back.
Ah, that's a good point.
Or I will destroy all who interfere with my mission right here and now.
I'd like to see you try it!
A newcomer.
Why don't you start by defeating me? I'll show you the art of alchemy that has been passed down the Armstrong family for generations!
Whoa!
Who is he? That's the same man who murdered Mr. Tucker and his daughter.
We don't want to destroy the city, do we? What do you mean? Destruction and creation are two sides of the same coin. Non-alchemists may fail to see the inherent truth of that statement, but we understand, don't we, Scar?
The stages of the transmutation process are construction, deconstruction, and reconstruction. This guy just must stop at the deconstruction phase.
Doesn't that mean he's strayed from whatever his ways of God are too?
He's unusually coordinated for his size, and his strength is almost superhuman.
I have you cornered, Scar!
But there's a moment when his swing is too wide. There it is.
Nice, quick. Close one.
Red eyes and brown skin, that means he's an Ishvalan.
Oh, okay.
Perhaps there are too many.
You might as well give up, Scar. You're not getting away.
Bastard is in the sewers.
But thank you for buying us enough time to surround him. I was hardly buying time. It was all I could do to keep myself from being killed.
I thought it best to lay low.
Think about maybe
It's just
backing
being
us
hide
up?
now.
Of course not! A person like me shouldn't get dragged into a freak show with you pack of pseudo-humans.
Is he still thinking about the war and that?
Hal!
That suit of armor is Elric's younger brother, is it?
There's gotta be a really long story behind this one.
Why didn't you run away when I told you to? What kind of idiot are you?
No way! I'm not just gonna run away and leave you behind!
Which is exactly why you're an idiot!
Bloody
What do you
hell.
keep punching me like that for?
Survival is the only way, Ed. Live on. Learn more about alchemy. You could find a way to get our bodies back and help people like Nina. You can't do that by dying.
If you're dead,
I won't
yeah.
allow you to abandon the possibility of hope and choose a meaningless death. Oh, great! And now my arms come off because my brother's a big fat idiot.
We're really falling apart, aren't we, brother? We look like we belong in a junkyard.
Gonna have to go back to Winry, right?
This got out. Things would get complicated.
The Ishvalans were a race of people who lived to the east of us. They believed that their god Ishvala was the one absolute creator. Even after they were annexed into the country, there were still conflicts between us and them. Then, 13 years ago, a military officer accidentally shot and killed an Ishvalan child. And that led to a full-blown civil war. One uprising led to another, and before long, the rebellion had spread to the whole eastern sector. To exterminate Ishval, many state alchemists were brought in to act as human weapons. Needless to say, the state alchemists produced striking results. In a sense, his revenge is justified.
No way!
Yeah, you see.
There's no justification for taking revenge on people who had nothing to do with it.
We can't let ourselves be killed for his cause. Next time, there will be no more talk. Got it?
Yes, sir.
Go out of resin
Going
pool.
to keep moving. We can't just sit around, not as long as we're still alive. Before we can make any headway on getting your body back, we have to get my arm back to normal. After all, I'm the only one who knows how to bond your soul to the armor. We've got no choice. It's been a long time.
Yep.
We need to pay a visit to our mechanic.
Okay, episode 5. Interesting one. We got our first Ishvalan, who was Scar. So, yeah, very, very interesting. I know who Scar is, by the way. It's the same voice actor that plays Ida. He also plays Steven in Blood Blockade Battlefront. Can't remember his name right now. See if I can find him here. Can't be bothered. Anyway, yeah. Regardless, it's interesting actually having him voice act somebody who isn't on like the side of the good, because generally he normally is. So, you know, because he was also in Steins Gate as well. Because he played Ocarine. So yeah, he's been in quite a few English dubs that I've watched. I think the only one that I've been watching a dub of that he actually isn't in would be Code Geass, right? But yeah, it's interesting that these Ishvalan people who, I mean, well, in this world, you know, I mean, I'm just going to assume that the red eyes are just something that is just truly natural, and, you know, not anything more than that, but they worship a god called Ishvala, who they believe is the one true god. Now, the interesting thing is, I'm wondering if, to a certain extent, Ishvalans don't use alchemy really. The only thing against that I would say is that, I mean, no, I don't think they would, because then you know, there was basically an order put down that, you know, people would be, you know, using themselves as weapons essentially, right? Which would, the idea is that they themselves are using alchemy as a sort of advantage against the Ishvalans, right? Whereas beforehand, I don't think that was the case. It seemed to be more sort of gun warfare. And the Ishvalans obviously pushed back. But then as soon as the tide was turned by the introduction of alchemy, I'd imagine. So, yeah. Interesting one. That would basically mean that Scar, in some form or fashion, it seems as though he's somebody that hasn't forgotten the war at all. Basically sees them all as heathens, heretics, and is kind of just continuing on his sort of mission as if the war never stopped, kind of thing, you know. But it's interesting that, you know, the description of like alchemy as construction, deconstruction, reconstruction is something that, you know, pretty much across the board of state alchemists anyway. That's the, you know, the chain that they follow. But Scar's stops completely at deconstruction, which makes me think that all of his sort of energy or power, however you would describe it, goes into deconstructing as opposed to actually having the next step. So I think that's the reason why he can so easily just break through other people's, you know, like big iron jails and things like that. And it doesn't seem to be a bother for him. Or even the fact that he was able to get through Edward's auto mail arm so easily was because he basically has all that energy into just deconstructing. So that's really interesting. So yeah, I think the Ishvalans themselves aren't really alchemists because they obviously believe in that god thing, and I think it's an interesting thing then with Scar that because he uses alchemy as well, to some degree, it's... I mean, he himself can't think of it as heresy, though I wonder if it could be a case of, like, his whole mission is to kill off all of the heretics and then maybe kill himself because he was a part of it, maybe. I could see that being a thing, but, like, I mean, we've got to assume that that never happens because then we would have no characters left. So, you know, that's an interesting one. So yeah, it's specifically brown skin and red eyes. So that would mean that I don't know, because we normally see them in dark, like low light conditions, like the likes of the terrorist group, like Envy and whatnot. you know, because they've got red eyes, but I'm pretty sure they do anyway. Maybe I'm just associating that with the fact that they are that they're evil, and I'm just thinking that they have red eyes. But let's see if I can find it here. Because, yeah, we got introduced to a new guy called Envy. Yeah, she has red eyes, but, like, she's not brown-skinned, so I'm going to assume that she just isn't Ishvalan then, which, you know, obviously puts into question, like, this. I wonder where these people specifically come from, or if they're actually, you know, a part of this sort of... If they're from, like, all from, like, the sort of same place, but they just have different ideals in what, you know, like the state alchemists and everything like that do. You know, like how they use their power. But then, I mean, how can they, like, justify their... I don't know how they could justify, like, them... like, themselves about just causing chaos. Other than basically just, you know, basically to cause chaos, I guess, to essentially tear down the civilization, like, from within kind of thing, and, like, rebuild it anew, right? I guess that's what it would be, yeah. But anyway, yeah, I don't think any of those, like, envy, gluttony... And if they're going by the 7 deadly sins thing, which appears a lot more often in anime than I originally thought, I mean, it could almost be classed as a sexist statement to say that I could just go out on a limb and say that it's lust, because she's that sexy woman archetype. So, you know, we'll go with that for now. If that's what it is, I don't know. I can't even search it up, because if I was to Google it, it could easily be like... it could, like, spoil what ends up happening to her. So, you know, I can't even look it up. It's just going to have to be something that when they eventually say the name again, I'm just going to have to hear out for that. But yeah, so... so yeah, it wasn't the real Father Cornello, so yeah, he's able to just... He essentially... It's an interesting one what Envy's doing. I mean, I would probably... I mean, I would have to go out on a limb and say that he's literally, like, reconstructing his whole body. Like, that's what he's doing. So he's like, he can be like a sort of infiltrator, which is great, because now it's going to be one of those things where, like, I need to keep a lookout and an eye out for people, like characters who are not acting their usual self, you know, because he could easily just infiltrate and, like, you know, come behind sort of our lines and get close to, you know, our characters and everything like that. But yeah, so Edward and Alphonse, they got pretty well defeated this episode. You know, but because of that, it kind of showcased Alphonse a bit more in a, I guess, more serious tone, because I think it's an interesting thing with Alphonse, because I'm wondering if, because he doesn't have his physical body anymore, that he always, like, it's almost like he's never grown up. So I'm wondering if because even though he's having these life experiences, he's doing it in a suit of armor. So I would theoretically say that, yeah, he should be able to, like, it would be like he would, you know, mentally grow. But then he doesn't have a brain either. So, yeah, it's interesting. It's like he's got the soul of a child that never grows older. So therefore he doesn't act as... I mean, even to bring that up and say that he doesn't act more mature, I mean, Edward doesn't really either. So I guess it's just one of those things. But yeah, who knows? But yeah, I mean, I didn't even think that Alphonse he couldn't feel or anything like that. I don't know why I never even thought about that before. But using the sort of rain as well, and Edward using the rain in the description to be like every drop is just, you know, more depressing kind of thing. Oh, it's just like when it rains, it fucking pours, you know. But yeah, so it's really gotten to Edward this episode, just on the aftermath of the episode before. And I don't know if this is something that, but I mean, I feel like it would, right? I think that what maybe they're setting up here is a bunch of depressing things that keep building up in the Elric brothers, and it you know, it just continues on, which sucks because, you know, like I don't want any more fucking depressing episodes, but we're only episode 5 in, and we've already had a couple. And we've got like what, like another 60 episodes to go? Fucking hell, man, dude. It's gonna be an emotional ride, man. It's weird because it's like it's such a bittersweet thing, because it can really work for great storytelling, but fucking hell, if these shows don't really get you, yeah, like, you know, pull on your heartstrings at times. So yeah, it's you know, I'm gonna have to be mentally strong for this one. But yeah, so it's interesting, like the way that Edward is, because it's like, I don't know, his personality is, I don't want to say it all over the place, because that's not the, I don't think that's the right way to describe it. It's like, in the same way when I talk about the show going from lighthearted to dark really quickly, I feel like he does as well. Like, he goes into sort of idiot mode, back chat mode, you know, like serious depression. And it could be a case of one of those things where it's like, because, you know, like depression and everything like that, sort of, it's not just a specific emotion. Like, you know, people associate depression with sadness and everything like that, but in reality, depression can host a lot of different emotions all at once, you know, through sort of just anxiety and suffering and everything that goes along with that, to, like, you know, like, in a lot of ways you can see that maybe he puts on certain things as a defense mechanism, whether he's doing it consciously or subconsciously. There's a lot that happens quickly with Edward, you know, which, you know, I really like. It means that there's a lot with his character in only such a small amount of time, you know what I mean? So I can only imagine where we go when we, you know, carry on through the episodes and everything like that. You know, so also Mustang is an idiot. Isn't he? Like, he's an interesting character, right? Because he get, like, from, well, I don't even know, because even episode 1 he was a bit of an idiot, wasn't he? Like, he was a hothead, which makes sense, I guess, with him being a flame alchemist. But, like, yeah, it never really worked well. I don't know, I feel like that maybe they're putting the mangaka keeps putting Mustang in situations where he's not effective. So when it actually gets to a time where he can be effective, it's going to be, like, so unexpected and like a pure shock. Because the 2 times that we've actually seen him try to get in and actually, you know, go to battle, he's done it against McDougal in the first episode, where he went up against ice, and because of that, like, you know, the ice just turns to water, and it is not really effective again. And then in this one, it's raining, so he can't, you know what I mean? But it's because he never even thought about it. Like, he's a bit of an idiot, but he's a colonel, and he has this sort of, I don't know, he has this way of, I guess his sort of personality trait when he's not being hot-headed, right? He does give off this sort of reliable, you know, way, like, just like the way that he talks and everything like that. And with him being a colonel, I mean, that's pretty high up there, you know what I mean? That's quite high up there in terms of rank. So You know what I mean? Like, he must have got there, you know, through his abilities and everything like that. I just feel like they're purposely putting him in situations where he's ineffective. You know, but it's not even just about his abilities, but how he thinks about it. The fact that he never even thought about the rain. And we had to have what was her name? Reza, Reza Hawkeye. The fact that she had to like come in and literally slide tackle him from behind just so that Scar would miss. That's great, man. She's just always going to be that one that's just, you know, having to pull Mustang out of the shit. You know what I mean? Like, she's the sensible one. Bloody hell, man. But yeah, so I think that's pretty much all I've got for this episode. But I mean, again, you know, even talking about the fact that I really struggle with, you know, kids and all that in shows, and they brought it up again. You know, the State Alchemist, well, not even State Alchemist, but you know, the war essentially started. The Civil War actually started because of a killing of an Ishvalan kid. I don't even know how that happens. Like, how does that even happen? How do you accidentally kill a kid? It's like, get your finger off the fucking trigger, dude. But, I mean, you know, that's one of those things, like, for example, last episode, when I had a bit of a go at Mustang, it might have been a bit more unfounded, but I was very emotional by then, so I hope you can forgive me for that. But in this episode, like, when he's talking about how, you know, like, a lot of the way they sort of feel about us is kind of justified. Maybe so. I mean, everything that they'd said in the previous episodes about them essentially being dogs that would, you know, they would just send to basically... I mean, because they were, you know, forced sort of into that war to do horrible atrocities, you know what I mean? Like, as soon as they use their alchemist powers, like, they just absolutely demolished them, you know what I mean? In like, horrific circumstances. So it's like, it's very similar to war in a way. It's one of those things, like, you know, if you want to go back to a specific, like, a world war, World War One is famously known for, like both sides, the soldiers on either side didn't like the idea of killing each other in a way, you know what I mean? It was like they were just forced to because of, you know, the leaders of each country. And it just being like a basically like a chess match between those two, and all the soldiers on the ground had to suffer, like, you know, all of the shit for their game. You know, and that isn't something that goes away, like, you know, even after the war. It's always something that, like, remains there. So obviously with Ishvala and I don't even know what you call the rest of the place, because of the fact that of it being a civil war, I don't know who to call the other. I guess you go for State Alchemists as well, but this war was like sort of, they were at odds before the State Alchemists even came along, so, you know, I don't even know what to call them. But, you know, their relations, if you want to call it that, is not great because of what had happened there. And that goes to all those soldiers that fought in it, even though they may not have wanted to. So it's just one of those things, yeah. There was one thing actually I wanted to talk about real quick that I thought was interesting. I think it was Armstrong that said it, or it could have been what was his name? Trying to find it. I don't think I wrote down his name, did I? The fucking weird dude who was like keeping them in his house. I don't think I wrote down his name. Shit. Either way, it was one of those that mentioned that Tucker and Mustang were the only State Alchemists of note, like, in this region, or here, which is weird when you think about it, considering the fact that I would assume that here, like, meant where the military State Alchemists sort of HQ is. I mean, it's just weird to think that is. That's just a weird sentence. So I'm a bit confused on that one, because I wouldn't. I mean, surely you can't take away the Führer Bradley or anything like that, right? Like, is Armstrong not like a state alchemist of note? Or are they even talking about ability wise? Maybe they're talking about something else, like someone in a specific field. But then I don't know what Mustangs would be, though. Because it seemed like Tucker was definitely of note, because even the terrorist group, were talking about it, even though they don't really care about her, but they know the name, so there is that. They seem to know everything, though, because they know about Scar as well. You know what I mean? They refer to him as him. But you would think that Scar's going to be like that sort of in-between, isn't he? Where I feel like he would have he wouldn't get along with that group either, unless it's that thing of like the theory. One of the theories that I had was the fake Philosopher's Stone things, that they could possibly be used in a way to control or influence a person who has it. So if Scar has it, like if he has one, then he could be doing that. Like I was saying before about how Ishvalans I don't think are into alchemy and everything like that, but he is. So maybe it's a case of he was influenced through rage and vengeance to start doing alchemy, and that's what he does. But it's contradicting with him inside of his head, where he's he has that vengeance and everything like that, which is being sort of controlled upon. But then on the other side, it's he still retains all of that stuff from being an Ishvalan and thinking about it as heresy and being a heretic and everything like that. So that's what it could be that as well. The only reason why I say that is just because I think it's interesting that two people who have had who've had that fake Philosopher's Stone, could easily be sort of, they easily couldn't have been what they were, what they became. For example, with McDougal, he was a state alchemist himself. But then they did sort of counteract that in the previous episode, about in episode 4, about how they're you have that paperwork of a bunch of state alchemists that have kind of gone rogue or gone traitorish, or they're corrupt in some way. But I feel like there could have been something with him not, McDougal could have just been coerced into doing so. Whether this fake Philosopher's Stone is able to do that or not, I don't know. But I think it is a possibility. And the same goes with Father Cornello as well. I mean, him being a father, it can be used as a great vice. I mean, you saw that in this episode with how Envy is still using the body of Father Cornello to try and, basically exacerbate things and cause chaos in the region, because you have people who still believe in him, and then you have other people who just basically overheard everything from episode 3 over the speaker and everything like that. So they're still using him as a vice for whatever ends they are searching for. So it makes me think that there is some kind of influential thing going on that group of people are doing, and they're targeting people that can be easily misled for certain reasons. So if that is the case, then Scar, you can basically influence him based upon that whole war. As a that's his sort of vice for getting sort of a hold of him, and influencing him to do these things, even though he does alchemy. He doesn't do the reconstruction part of it, But to do any of it itself, you would assume that, like, you know, like, to some degree, it goes against his beliefs. You know, I could be wrong, though. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, deconstruction is, you know, he's deconstructing just, you know, basic, like, material and everything like that was created by humans. It's not really, I guess, going against God's will of reconstructing something out of sort of... It's not reconstructing out of nothing. I mean, it feels like it for a second when you've deconstructed to make something new, but it's like... Obviously, he believes that humans aren't meant to have this power. That was another thing as well, actually, is that Lust, or whatever her name is, talked about how, she was talking about humans as if it was coming from a place, like, from someone who isn't human. But the way she was saying it could obviously relate to her being human as well, of course, anyway. Because that's something that people say nowadays in the real world every day, is that humans are... You know, when you call it humans, it's like you're not saying we are, you're saying humans are. It kind of puts it in that sort of third person perspective that you're not a part of it. So, you know, you kind of project it onto humanity as a whole, as opposed to we, meaning that, like, I am a part of it as well, kind of thing. So, you know, I mean, I've got no reason to believe that there are anything other than humans. Well... By that, I mean, I don't think there's aliens or anything like that. Like, I know there are chimeras and stuff like that, but that's just the equivalent of other animals and humans in some degrees. In some situations, sorry. That, you know, are basically formed together to create a chimera. So it's not like that. I'm talking about, like, demons and aliens and shit like that, you know, that aren't human. But yeah, so... I think that's all I've got for this episode, but again, another interesting one. These episodes are just really... They've got a lot of information to delve into and talk about, which, you know, most of you know that this is the kind of thing that I like to do. So, you know, it's really, really cool. But anyway, yes, that is all I've got for episode 5, so thank you everyone for watching. Episode 6 will come out the same time as this, so you can go watch episode 6 now. But if you want to gain access to episodes 7 and 8 immediately, you can do by becoming an early access tier patron over on my Patreon. So it's $5 a month. That gives you access to shows a week early. There's also the full-length tier if you want to watch any of my reactions in full and not just the 10-minute cut version. And then there is the exclusive tier, which gives you access to movie reactions and things like that. That is going to be happening very, very soon, because the My Hero Academia Rising Heroes movie is out now, I believe, for the English dub. So that means I can go watch that and get that reacted to. So yeah, you can go over there, have a look at the tiers, see what they offer. But that is all I've got. Thank you for watching. I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.